Welcome to Everything House Music and More, and my special guest today, all the way from overseas, I have Jamie326. Jamie, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what up, Mo? Man, thanks for having me, man. A lot of people don't know what's happening right now, so this is kind of virtual, but it ain't virtual.
Hey, brother, right. I appreciate that for coming in. So, you ready to do this, man?
Yeah, man. Let's talk. Let's talk about it, baby.
Let's get into it. So, Jamie, how did you meet house, the culture, and how old were you?
Woo! You know, I'm not gonna go into the typical story that a lot of people say. You know, they started off playing records when they was little, blah blah, which was true. But it's like I kind of was into the disco, funk, soul culture from my mom, my uncle, and my cousins growing up in the '70s. And then it's like from my uncle just basically being 10 years older than me, and him a teenager in the '80s. You know, in the '70s. So basically, I got into him being under him like my big brother and. Him going to the disco and through the disco and the GQ phase and all of that. My mom going out to disco and all of that. And, you know, that kind of started. And then as well, I grew up in Beverly, but I also spent time in South Shore. And at my grandparents' house right next door, I owe so much to this dude. I got education from him. This gay guy, Dennis. And you know how it used to be back in the day? People put their speakers in the window. And like we saw it called Play Your Box.
Oh, wow.
He was playing jams. Now in hindsight, all of these jams was tunes that he was hearing at like the warehouse, and he was playing these cuts. So I can remember him playing like the Peach Boys, Electra Feels Good, all this stuff like when it was hot and new, and he just kept playing these cuts, and that was like what I was drawn into, you know. And then of course, you know, then when the mixes started playing on the radio, all of that, I was into it.
So how old were you at this time?
Bro, like 10. You know, like 9, 10, you know, so it's like, this was the cool culture period, you know, so I used to love the hot mixes and all that. I was always into it. And then as well, my godfather was a DJ, all this kind of stuff. So it's like, I was around DJ culture and all of that from growing up. And then it just developed as well as I had a neighbor who was more like a big brother, Darren, rest in peace. And he used to party at like the playground and all of that. And I used to hear him play, you know, play cuts. So it's like I can remember when he brought home the Kraftwerk album with Numbers and all of that. And I'm sitting there jamming with him with this. So it's like that kind of stuff all influenced me. And then as time went on, then got into it.
So what things do you remember during that time, like in terms of fashion and music?
Man, I mean, it's like, this is all house culture. So it's like, I know the roots of it. So it's like, I can remember seeing the older kids, especially, like I said, being in South Shore, it was like, preppy, you know, the punk, new wave, especially the punk out stuff, especially from, I used to listen to the Herb Kent Punk Out Show with my cousin, my older cousin, and my neighbor. So it's like, I can remember the preppy, you know, the Argyle, you know, the Levi's, penny loafers.
I remember the polka dots, all that stuff.
Polka dots, all of that. Then I can remember going, you know, mid-'80s going in another direction, and it really went preppy. Then it went house, and then deep house. And it's like, in my age group, I was part of the deep house, you know. So let's go there. Like,
what generation are you? Are you first, second, or third?
I say 2.5 into 5, because I guess basically, you know, because I was into it, you know, from being younger. But when I really got into it, and most definitely was partying from the neighborhood house parties on to the school dances and all that. That's like 1985.
Okay, so when did you start DJing?
Around 85, I started messing around like 85.
Okay. And then at that time, you wasn't Jamie326, right?
No.
What was your DJ name at the time?
You know how everybody used to have that middle, middle name? So when I first started, I was Jamie Jack in the House.
Oh, shit. Jamie Jack in the House.
Right. Okay. Then I got with my crew, my old crew, the Lust Corp. Then I was Jamie Lust for a long time, and then Jamie326 came later.
Okay. So what places were you going to hear music, and what DJs influenced you at that time?
Man, most definitely, like I said, the radio DJs, but of course everyone always talks about DMX. But I got to talk about the stations on the left end of the dial that influenced me. So that that's why sometimes I would go over to my grandparents' house so I could pick up NUR and HBK. So I have to say, everyone always talks about BMX,
Right.
I got to say WKKC.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it's like...
College radio.
Whoo!
Yeah.
Bro, the Friday night audio.
Yeah.
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 Crazy. Especially Leonard.
Right.
Walter Get Down Brown.
Right.
Bobby Q Bobby.
Yeah.
Shelton Spinning Reese.
Yeah.
Hugo H.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was on it, bro. You know, Walter Brown with the Roaches, all of that, bro. KKC was my station. Then you got HPK with Lee Collins with the Disco Madness show.
Right.
Then you had NUY with T-Shot Blee.
Yeah.
All that. So, bro, I was on that. And CRX. So, yeah, it's like I was into it, you know, just to get these mixes and things like that. Yeah. So, that left end of the dial was
meant a lot
important.
to you, right?
Meant a lot to me.
So were you a trick DJ or up and down crossfader or middle style? I mean, how was your style at that time?
Bro, it's like everybody started off doing tricks and scratching and things like that until things bubbled up from the underground. And what's so you would think it's a large time span in that, and it's like, no, it's very short to where it flipped from the hot mix style to the underground style. Yeah. So of course I used to trick and scratch and things like that, and then just went to blending. Yeah. You know, especially after I started going to a lot of different parties. Okay. You know, and experiencing the deep stuff as well as hearing certain stuff on the radio, and it wasn't tricked or scratched. Yeah. You know, things like that. Yeah, that's most definitely.
So at that time, which was your DJ that influenced you the most at that time?
Whew, okay. I would have to say, of course, all the WKKC DJs. Okay. Steve Silk Hurley, especially when he was on BMX. Yeah. Farley, Ralphie. Right. Bro, I'm gonna start forgetting.
I don't know.
Like I say, Lee Collins. You know, all the T-Shot Bleed. Yeah. All the CRX DJs. Then, of course, all the neighborhood DJs. John Jam and Jason. Right. I mean, John Jam and Mason. My bad. Okay. my bad, John. Right. John Jam and Mason, Disco Don, the whole High Fidelity crew. Those were like the DJs I looked up to. Okay. And the first DJs I really saw like mixing and things like that. And they did all the neighborhood house parties. Okay. And yeah, those DJs most definitely. Then when I started going out, and it's like one of the first parties I went to, because I lived in the area where Longwood, you know, Academy Our Ladies around the corner. Oh, yeah. So I didn't even have to go to Mendel because I had a girls' school right there. Yes, Catholic school party. So a lot of the DJs that used to be through there would be like Ferris Thomas, Lil Lewis, you know, WKKC DJs. Yeah. That was good. That was Andre a good lineup right there. Right. You know, Andre Hatchett. So it's like one of the first parties I really went to in like 1985 was at my old Catholic school, St. Margaret. Okay. And Andre Hatchett was DJing. Nice. And yeah. I was blown. Oh, yeah. Because the thing was as well, he's one of the dopest. Absolutely. And tightest technically sound DJs. I'm trying to still get him. He keep blowing me up, but I'm going to get him. Yeah. Andre is that dude. Right. You know, straight butter. Yeah. And it's like the way he was playing, he wasn't scratching, right? You know, anything like that. No. So it's like he was beating the box, and then playing edits and things like that. And I was just like, "Whoa," you know, because my young mind was blown. Right. But it's like that party. I heard a lot of stuff for the first time, because it was like underground. Yeah, and like I can remember him killing that edit he did. That, and a lot of people don't know he made this edit because Ron used to play it a lot. Okay. But it's an edit of Sherilyn, You Saved My Day, and then it goes into I'm Every Woman. Chaka Khan, yes. Andre Hatchett did that edit because I asked him, and he told me. I remember that record completely. I was down in the house basement, man. I heard that. I lost my mind. Yeah, bro. So it's like hearing that, and I'm just like, yeah. So most definitely Andre rates very, very high. And then we can get into the the others a little down the line.
So when was your first paid DJ gig?
Just paid. Yeah. Man, used to do it just to do it, but I would say well,
I think we all started like that because we did it for the love at first. But and then it became popular, and then what was your your memorable DJ gig?
Man, it was a house party. Most definitely was a house party. Oh, yeah. A graduation party.
House meaning that was in somebody's house.
Yeah, in somebody's house. And man, it was 3 of us and we split $30.
Oh wow. That was big back then, though.
Man, but I spent 50 on the records.
Right.
You know, spent 50 on the records.
But you didn't mind it, though, because you had the hottest shit at the time.
Yeah. And as well, it was just like, I wanted to be like the DJs I looked up to in the neighborhood doing these parties. And most definitely in that, time, and you know this, Mo, is like, getting one of the popular girls and they want you to DJ their party.
Absolutely.
And you know their parties would be the shit.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's like an official stamp.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it started from doing $30 parties to basically graduating up to doing my own mobile stuff. Right. You know, things like that, street promotion, doing our own events. So it's like I've worked every aspect.
So you was doing street promotion, hanging posters and everything.
Hell yeah, in the winter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and bro, it would get brutal about doing that. And people tear your posters down. You out there in the cold in the winter.
Yes.
And then you come back around and you see your posters on the ground.
Right.
Bro, it would go down. Everybody think this was all about peace, love, and unity.
Yeah, no, it wasn't at the time. Right.
No. Those who know.
Right, exactly. So, Jimmy, take me through the 90s, man, because a lot of times we hear a lot of people say they was there from the beginning, all this other stuff. But a lot of times you don't see them from the decades of the 90s to the 2000s. So run me through to the 90s from me.
Well, you know, actually, it's like in the 80s, especially the late 80s, there's a generation that wasn't in the mix.
Right.
And it's like, I was a teenager then.
Yeah.
So it's like we were in a whole different kind of culture versus the culture that started before us. Mm-hmm. And then we took it and flipped it in our own way. And then we got deeper. Yeah. And deeper with the music. And then we got deeper with the clothes, with the fashion. Yeah. We looked a certain way. We had big pumps, big boxes. Right. Big clothes, you know, the silk shirts, wide legs, all of that. Yeah. So it's like as that went on, you also had, like I said, I followed Ron Hardy till he couldn't play anymore. Okay. So there's a lot of people who talk about Ron Hardy, but they only talk about this one period. Correct. And it's like there was other stuff that was going on that he was doing, but a lot of these people were down the street as shit Ricks with their Stacy and things like that. Right. So I could talk about that. Just like at 2210, when they took that over and they called it the music box. Right. To my generation, that's our music box. Yeah. Of course, it's not 326. Right. But to us, that's our music box. Yeah. You know, and even when the roof caved in and they moved next door. Right. See, I can talk about this because I was there. Yeah. You know, as well as I followed Ron in when he was up north and he was playing at AKA and all of this and had the residency there. And once again, like I said, in that period as well, he was breaking a lot of new music. Okay. And a lot of people don't know that because they weren't there. Mm. You know, especially in like 1990, he was breaking a lot of new music. Right. You know, so also in that period, it was also a shift. And you had another DJ that a lot of people don't talk about who's actually very famous, especially in my home country, the Netherlands, DJ Rush. Oh, yeah. DJ Rush at this time was this same kind of Pied Piper that Ron Hardy was, but to another generation. So actually that generation would be like 3.5 to generation 4. Yeah. And they were hanging at the Reactor. They were hanging at the Bismarck, things like that. You had the wild, crazy crew like G2, Generation 2000, all of it. See, this is the part of culture that a lot of people don't know about.
We don't have that part.
You know, and it's the deep, you know, aspect of it. Right. And then they took it and flipped it and did their own thing. But DJ Rush was that guy. And he went deep as well. Like I said, you got DJ Rush, you got Craig Alexander. Right. It's a lot of people that they don't talk about, you know, that was doing, you know, things on a whole deeper level. Yeah. So it's like that whole Rush movement, like I said, it influenced a whole nother generation, you know, of heads, and they were younger. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, it's like, wow, I was just a little bit older than them. I was also trying to hang at older spots because I'm like, I can't be around these kids. Yeah. Now, in hindsight, I missed out at the Reactor, which is like a legendary spot now. Right. Because I was just like, man, I can't be around these kids because I wanted to be on something else because I always hung out with older people.
And we weren't that much older, though.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you can't discount them and a lot of other underground DJs, as well as you had the loft scene going on Milwaukee Avenue. Right. This is pre-Red Dog and all that. Legendary parties. Right. Whew, oh my God, legendary parties on Milwaukee Avenue. And there's like all these other spots and things that were going on. And I was actively in it and searching and seeking out all these kind of different parties and places because I was still a fan of the music, even though I was a DJ. I wanted to hear that shit. Right. Or get the shit and go to where it was.
Right.
So it's like I've touched all kinds of historical aspects of this, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a lot that doesn't get talked about, the same as with all the Chicago labels that was really popping and rocking in the 90s, just like you would Vibe.
Yeah, we had Vibe, we had
with
Music
everything.
Plant. Yeah, exactly.
All this House Jam, all this. The address, let me make sure I got it right. 701 North Green.
Yep.
See?
Yep. I was over there with Mirage and everybody.
Yeah, Mirage and everybody.
Because
I know that address from the record.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you had all of that going on. You had all these other producers who was doing stuff like Braxton Holmes, Ron Trent.
Yep.
It was a lot of people.
It was a lot of stuff going on in the 90s. You had Clubhouse with Hula and everybody. You had, a lot of Chicago labels.
And it's like, but they always, when they talk about Chicago history, I always want to just say DJ International. It tracks.
That's right.
And I tell people, I'm like, it was more to it than that.
Absolutely.
So once again, when you have this narrative repeatedly being said over and over and over again, it programs people.
Yeah.
So people really only think Chicago is this one period
Correct.
in the 80s, and it's not. It went even further than that. And the other difference was these same artists that got ripped off by those other labels, they developed their own and built their own.
That's what we had to do. That's what we had to do. I mean, it was to the point where, people was coming back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Trying to sign things and get stuff signed to, some majors too because of that, So I think you were right. Like a lot of people forget. That's why I brought it up about the 90s, because a lot of, like you said, a lot of the people in the past wasn't there from the 90s, so they don't understand it. Then they try to come back into it later in the 2000s. But like you said, we did have a nice amount of Chicago labels, artists, DJs, everything coming out during that time.
Yeah, as well as, you had a lot of things popping, on the north side. Yeah. You had Derek Carter and them, Diz, Mark Farina.
Yeah.
Lego, all these Spencer, all these, and then as well, the stuff that was going on with Prescription, with Guidance, with Casual. All of this was all going on, at the same time. And it's like this period really needs to be talked about a lot more.
So did you have a residency somewhere during the 90s?
Ooh, no. I was doing underground stuff.
Okay.
Mobiles, a lot of college parties.
Okay.
Things like that. Like I did a lot of college parties with like Terry and Ferris. Okay. Especially like we always used to do a lot of stuff in Northern Illinois.
Okay. Now this was still Jamie Lust or
this was Jamie Lust. Jamie Lust all day. All day. So it's like we were doing that, as well as we also worked with Dwayne Woods. So we ended up doing like setups for him because he would be out, stretched out. Okay. And then we would end up doing sound setups and things like that.
Get out of here.
So a lot of times we would set up the equipment.
Right.
And then we bring records too.
So you
so we get on.
Right.
Get on. And even sometimes get old school with it, be like, hey man, let me get a blend. Right. Those who know that line, know what we talking about.
You're going to take over from there,
you take over.
Right, you on there for a whole hour. They like,
who these dudes walking in with crates?
Right.
We used to have it like that, it's it is what it is.
So what made the switch from Jamie Lust to Jamie 326 then?
Man, I'm going to take it real. I'm going to try to make it short. But actually, from Jamie Lust, because I was down with, the whole crew and things like that, and I kind of split off and chilled. I burnt myself out. I was doing a lot of gigs and things like that. And then I regrouped. I still bought music and things like that. But this is something that I want to share, because this is some wisdom right here.
Okay.
There was a time in the 90s I was working and hanging out hard with Glenn Underground.
Okay.
He used to live around the corner from me at one time. Okay. So I was there when he made a lot of his classic stuff in the early 90s. I was there.
Okay.
And Paul Johnson.
Right.
And I was learning and soaking up stuff.
Right.
And as well, they were helping me, with some tracks or whatever.
Okay.
And I can remember having tracks turned down at Casual with that. And it affected me. And I didn't go. And then I got disappointed and I wasn't patient.
Okay.
And then I would go in the gramophone and I started seeing all my friends on the wall.
Oh, wow.
And that messed me up.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm done with house.
Yeah.
So I was playing Steppers music. I was
Really? Are you serious? So what year was this?
This was like 90, about 95, 96.
Wow.
Between like 96 and like 97.
Okay.
98. Yeah. So I was just like, man, I ain't doing that shit. You know, I was mad. So it's like, so it's a lesson that I'm trying to share to people that sometimes you got, especially if people trying to put you on, sometimes you got to be a little patient.
Yes.
And you never know. Trust the process because some things can work in your way. So, absolutely. So of course, going to the record shop would be traumatic. So I stopped with that. Right. Then I just got back into it. And then I still was like buying records and, you know, collecting. Right. And then it's like a lot of things just kind of happened. I started doing some events with my guy, Steve Butler. Okay. And I was going through this name change. And I was like, man, I might do this 326. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I was doing these events with him. And I was spinning hip hop with a live band. Yeah. Doing stuff with that. But I still would beat the box like I'm spinning house. Right. And my man Steve like, man, you beating this like you at 326. And I'm like, okay, that's sticking too. Then, you know, with the tagging like I used to do with the club addresses, all that. So I'm like, boom, I'm going to do it. This is it. Then right when that happened, and I started getting out a little bit, that's when that whole wrestling, Steve Austin 316 was out. Yeah. So then when I started doing like these events with Reggie Corner. Reggie Corner, right. People were calling me Jamie 316, you know, and stuff like that. Because it's like, that's the power of branding. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's the power of branding. And it's like, I started doing these events with Reggie, and it's like, I owe a lot to Reggie. Yeah. But, you know, a thing a lot of people don't know is that I had played a party for Reggie before, like in the 90s. Okay. With my crew. Right. But Reggie remembered me. And as well as who also, when he was looking for DJs, suggested me was Robert Williams. Right. And my cousin Ali. Okay. And because he used to cut Reggie hair. Oh, nice. And then, but Reggie didn't know that Jamie 326 was Jamie Lust. Right. Then this connection kind of happened. Oh, okay. And it was actually very cosmic how that happened. And then it's like, he put together this lineup with me, DJ Reg, because DJ Reg is not Reggie Corner. Right. That's my man Reg McClain. Right. So these lineups for a few years was me, myself, DJ Reg, and Andre Hatchett. Ah. And we started off doing these parties at like Red No 5. Right. And they was popping. Yeah. First the Prop House, then Red No 5. Okay. Then it went to another space, and it was the Concrete Jungle. And the thing is, when they started that party at the Concrete Jungle, people were like, you can't do no house music on the South Side or do this kind of underground type party on the South Side. And this is in 2000 and 2000 to 2001, one of the two. But it popped off hard. Yeah. So it's like, I'm forgetting the main guy who had the space, but I can tell you it was Reggie Corner, Hans, right, and Sheldon Reese. Okay. They were the three promoters, and these parties were crazy. Right. You know, loft party on the South Side. Yeah. Going down. Nice. And it's like, that was the start to a lot of stuff starting to pop off on the South Side after that. Right. Because prior to that, you had like Sadar and them doing things like, you know, Chicken Wings, then the Red Pepper. Yeah. And, you know, a few other people, but it wasn't nothing on that kind of scale, like an underground party on the South Side. Yeah. And then we graduated and created the Basement, and Reg just put me as the main DJ. That's nice. Yeah. It was nice, but it wasn't nice. Because the hell I got, because people weren't used to that anymore from how it used to be if one or two DJs. Yeah. So when I got thrown on that mix, they're like, who he think he is? He think he Ron Hardy? Think he Frankie Knuckles? You know, just one DJ? And I had to basically retrain myself because I was used to playing 2-hour sets. Yeah. Then had to learn how to stretch out a night. Yeah. And then as well, I wanted to play new music and mix this up with it. And then we found a way. And as well, another lesson is sometimes you need to be able to take constructive criticism. Correct. Because Reggie was like, you can't just force all this new music on them. You got to find a way to make it work. Slowly. I found a way to make it work because at one time that crowd was core old school music box and power plant people and other people. And then it's like, it kind of filtered out. I kind of changed things. I had to literally tune myself out. I had people right in front of me. The booth was on the floor.
Wow.
Screaming like, play Dr. Love, play Dr. Love. And I'm like,
yeah, you're trying to blank
this,
him out. Yeah.
You know, and had to do that. I, you know, stuck to my guns.
That's how you had to do it.
And it worked.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like myself. It's a lot of other crews that were putting in work in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people now benefiting from the sacrifice a lot of us did,
Absolutely.
including promoters.
Yeah.
Including, like, at one time, it was only really like 3 people, 4 people
That
doing
was
it.
promoted,
You had
yeah.
Reggie,
Yeah.
Rhonda, Wynell and the Attic crew.
Yeah.
Then you had, like, Soul and the Whole crew,
Yeah.
New Bang Clan.
Right.
That was it.
And then the radio parties, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, then it went to the radio
Yeah.
parties and that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so it's like in between that, going into the 2000s, I also started networking and meeting a lot of people off the internet, off the legendary site, the Deep House page.
Okay.
And I started meeting people on the forum.
Right.
And I connected with people like who were in New York, who were like in Baltimore and all this place. And I started going.
Yeah, you was traveling your butt off, man.
But at first, I was just going as a fan and, you know, fill it out. I wasn't just going to
spin.
Yeah, I'm trying to spin. No, because I love history and I love all the history of dance music and all this. And I make these connections and find things out.
Okay.
But of course, number one, House is from Chicago.
Exactly.
And that's that.
Right.
But in between that, then I started playing certain events on the East Coast and things like that.
Okay.
And making these connections that kind of helped me get in different, you know, scenes and things like that.
Right.
And then eventually from mixes being on that website, that's when I got like my first international booking.
Oh, nice.
So it's like I kind of broke the mold because for so long they were saying, you got to have a track out.
That is true. That is true. You definitely did that.
To get out.
Because I was seeing you at the time, like, James has been traveling a lot, man. I'm like, and you did break the mold because I'm like, well, he really ain't have nothing out. But
right.
Got to be a cold brother to go out there to do that, you know?
Well, thank you, but it ain't easy. You know, it wasn't easy. You know, once again, I had to learn.
Absolutely.
You know, and figure that out. So most definitely the core of me is Chicago. Yeah. And I'm all about being a positive representative of my city and of my culture and knocking down a lot of these stereotypes, you know, so to speak. And it's most definitely it's a blessing. And I also took a lot of chances, a lot of risk. Right. I invested in myself because in this period, I was also still working. That's good. And had a day job. Right. So I could invest in myself, invest in my craft and do things like that. And you have to be able to do that.
That's good that you said that because a lot of people don't invest in themselves like that. They'll do anything else, but they won't invest in themselves. No. Not even. Dude, we gave away, me and Reggie did street promotion where we gave away thousands of CDs and things like that. Right. It's just, you got to market yourself and invest in yourself for people to know you. It's just like, and as well, you got to be social and get out and get in the mix. You can't just, like how some people used to do back in the day, they go out and just hand a CD to the promoter and leave. Exactly. You don't even go through a place and be social or try to build a relationship, a connection. It's different now, brother.
Yeah, way different. Still the same, they just inbox you now.
Yeah. So, Jamie, you've become a very high profile globally after moving away from Chicago. How do you feel the love helped you and what made you take such a leap at that time just to go out there?
Man, well, you know, I started going over there a lot, especially mid to late, 2000s. Okay. But the thing is, a lot of people didn't know, what I was doing, and I was planting seeds. Right. And started getting a lot of traction and action, and then I just started going over a little bit more to the point that it was turning into, mini tours and summer tours and things like that. And it's like, man, it wasn't glamorous, bro. I'm going to be real. I couch surfed. I did all kinds of stuff because as well, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get in and do, what I could do. Yeah. Yeah. And hindsight now, I know some of this stuff I would have done very differently. So I took some low paying gigs or whatever because I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get in. I'm trying to get exposure. I'm trying to build relationships. Correct. And things like that.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So as time progressed, I just started going over a lot more. Okay. Staying a lot more. And then I was just like, you know what? I think I'm going to make this move. Wow. And
that's a big step though.
And I did it. First I moved and lived over there for like 5 months. Okay. And I was like, it's the first time I ever lived away from Chicago. Right. Not even like another state. Really? I'm in another country. Wow. And I was like, man, I'm good.
Okay.
Because, of course, it's different now. You know, you got Skype, you got all this. If it would have been 30 years ago and I got to write letters and all that, I've been messed up. Like, I miss my mama. I miss everybody. You know, it's very different. So it's just, they embraced our culture and our history.
Yes.
Even to the point that they embrace it and know it better than people who were here and were knee deep in it.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of sad.
It is.
That it's like I'm meeting uni students who are like 20, 22, and they can run down what was going on and what was happening and know the history and then ask me questions about things. And I'm like,
how'd you know about that?
How you know about that? And just like, whoa. And it's like here, you got people who were knee deep in it and they don't understand it or don't know. And what people from Chicago need to understand is the world looks at us as Mecca.
Yeah.
We have a powerful gift just being from here.
Correct.
You need to embrace that.
Yeah, and that's why I do this, man. Like I said, I talked to you before. I do this because I want to get that history and make sure people understand it, who it came from, and for us not to get looked over anymore.
Yeah, most definitely, because I've had some interesting conversations in my travels, especially in Europe, because as well, there's some people, because a lot of history regarding house and techno has been whitewashed.
Yeah.
So there's people who think the house and techno started in the UK, in Europe.
Yeah.
They don't know that it's black music and it started in the ghettos of Chicago and Detroit.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I have to set the record right on certain things, you know, and as well, once again, dispel some of these myths, some of these lies, you know, about things that's just not right, you know, and let them know that where it comes from. And once again, be a positive representative.
Yes.
And as well, educate.
Correct.
And teach people the right things. So I've had heavy conversations with people and taught them about this culture, things that they didn't know or didn't understand as well. I also can present it from a different perspective because I started off on the other side of the booth first. Yeah. As a head, not just a DJ.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have a different, you know, perspective on it. And as well, I'm still a fan of it and a fan of the culture. And this culture parallels so much with hip hop and how hip hop started.
It does.
But the difference is they embrace their legends.
They do.
And they make sure it's not just one little box, even though it is to a certain extent with hip hop. Yeah. But still, they also acknowledge that.
I think the youngest acknowledge it. Yeah, the youngest acknowledge it because they know who it is.
Right.
I think the problem is right now, a lot of people who try to do our history don't know where it came from, or think that somebody else made it, but it wasn't the truth. But I wanted to touch this because you got into it. I was like, since living overseas, how do you feel house music is represented in the mainstream, and how different is it here in the U.S.?
It's most definitely been. It's like I learned this, especially hanging hard in the UK.
Right.
I didn't know like some records that we might consider deep or whatever, especially house music, where we might be like, this is underground.
Right.
They could be like, this is commercial.
Yeah.
You know, because it was pop music.
Right.
It was chart.
Yeah. It was chart on the radio and everything. Right.
Yeah. So they're like, don't play this. We're tired of that. And I'm like, man, this is a joint. And they just like, no, that's commercial. Don't play it, because I had to learn this. I didn't know, you know, and I'm like, oh, all of this it was on a way broader, you know, scale than here. Absolutely. And it was almost like regional to certain parts of the States.
Yeah.
Then when it did get a little global or whatever, or get some recognition, especially like with Crystal Waters, then next thing you know, you got Living Color do a parody of it. And then it's like, you know, that kind of stuff. So as well in Europe, dance music is a part of pop music and a part of culture. Yeah. And it's like here it's not that. So it's like I can go to a store, a cafe or whatever and hear stuff that I like, man, I'll party to this.
Yeah,
and it's
like we was over in Amsterdam and Paul Johnson Get Down was just playing on the radio, regular rotation.
They played
it's just
My
like,
Brother's John. That's like an anthem there. You got street dancers dancing to this, all of that. It's like that down. They go off on that, you know. So it's like, so it's almost like it's pop music because as well it's a part of their culture, right? And it's like here it's stigmas to it, you know. And it's like it's not just gay culture that this comes from, but they always try to broadcast it you know, that way. And I'm not, you know, dissing, you know, nobody, but
right.
Part of the culture does come from them, but a lot of it comes from other people as well.
Yeah. So in your opinion, is there a place for house music in the mainstream, or is it best left underground as an art form?
You know what? It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's mainstream globally, not nationally in the States.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also one of the reasons why I went overseas.
Yeah.
That's where the market is.
Right.
That's the market.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're in any particular industry, that's just like if you in the chips and computers and things like that, you go into Silicon Valley.
Right.
It's the same thing. You know, you going where the technology is.
Education right there, right.
You're going where the game is.
Right.
You know, so it's like, wow, I would love to be here if I tried to stay in the box that they tried to put me in here, I'd be another angry DJ on the internet, you know, and fighting with people over scraps.
Right.
And it's like, the world is my residence. That's how I look at it.
That's nice, brother. That's nice. So tell me about living overseas and back to the States. Can you bring something back that's big overseas and then that nobody knows yet and then play it out here and get a good reaction from it?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Okay.
No, but, you know, but I mean, it's like I've always broken, you know, broken records, and I know how to break records. So it's certain stuff that I've broken over the years that are still being played, or even like it's something I came back and I played a party for Reg and I broke Kafalo's Stress Relief.
Right.
You know, so it's always something that I can bring, but it's not even like it's coming from overseas, but it's like, if it's fresh, if it's hot, I'm just going to play it.
That's good.
And I don't care. I'm not going to. That's part of the problem here as well. You got 800 DJs playing the same program.
Tell me about
sharing the same hard drive.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Stop playing Hey Hey, the trumpeter. Stop.
Hey, man, it's that radio, man.
It ain't just radio, because Mike ain't playing that on 106.
No. But you know, I'm just saying the radio crowd, when they go out, they want to hear that, man.
But, you know, that too, but as well, the DJ's got to have some musical balls. Yeah. And you got to know how to, but I guess as well that comes down to programming. And everyone doesn't know how to set up a new song. That's right. You know, it's either going to be, they going to play because they on this, I'm on the newest of the new. Right. And they want to play an hour of unfamiliar sounds to people. And they get mad when it's tumbleweeds on the dance floor. Right. It's like, it don't work like that.
But, you know, back in the day, like you said, you play a new and break a new record. Of course, you're going to have people get on the dance floor. You just got to be secure with yourself to keep playing that record and then go into the other one and get the people back on the dance floor.
Right. That's it. I'll give you a tip. It's the sandwich method. Right. Play something they know. Right. Put in that new unfamiliar joint and then follow it.
There you go.
With something familiar.
We all know that, Jimmy. That's House 101 right there, brother.
They don't know it. As if they did, they wouldn't be doing it. But anyway.
Go ahead, tell names then. No, I'm just playing.
No, I ain't doing that one, though. Okay. I ain't doing that one.
So let's go back to what was some of your first productions, and then when was it released?
Man, you know, actually, I got more known for my edits. Yes. Than like straight original productions. Okay. So it's like, once again, marketing, things like that. I gave my edits to certain DJs who I knew were on a certain level. Right. But as well, certain DJs I was cool with. Yeah. Especially like, you know, my man Theo, Kenny, all the guys in Detroit. Right. I would just go up there and kick it, and I'll always give out CDs with edits and things like that on. And they would play this stuff, but I didn't know that they was like playing this all over the world. Right. Until people started getting back to me about certain stuff. And I'm like, oh. Right. And then, then I put out, you know, some edits and it popped. But I would say first original, like if I say production, probably would be like 2009, something like that. Like, and it really even be production. It's basically like a remix, and I flipped it, you know, a little bit.
That's still production, though.
But but most definitely, it kicked up a lot after like 2014. Okay. And then it's just like, I started doing a lot of stuff. I released stuff on Rush Hour. Good. You know, I connected with a lot of people over in Amsterdam. Right. So it's like, I've released with my partner, my main man, my boy Bobby Masalo.
Okay.
We did some stuff, you know, that dropped on Local Talk. We did some stuff that dropped on Rush Hour.
Nice.
You know, so it's like that's when it really, you know, started. I started developing, you know, a sound and a different sound. Yeah. So it still has elements of most definitely Chicago, especially with the drum programming and things like that. And then with some influences from stuff I've been exposed to over there, you know, make a gumbo and, you know, put it together. So it's like, so it went from me doing edits to now, you know, I got stuff out on Defected Records.
That's good. So you know, give me Jamie's gear list, man. What's your go-to gear to make some of these records then?
Man, I'm like everybody else. I got a cracked version of Ableton. Crack plug-ins.
Right.
I'm gonna be real, man.
So it's all in the box then?
It's in the box, but to the most part now, being serious, but now, you know, the studio that I'm in, I share with my partner, Danu P, and his lady, Laura. Okay. So Danu is a keyboardist. He has a ton of synths. Okay, good. And then I have, you know, we have a couple of drum machines, but for the most part, a lot of it is done still in the box. But we mix it up, and that's, you know, like I said, it's like my favorite plugins to use are like from Arturia. Okay, right. Especially for like the synths. Absolutely, like that's the bomb. Arturia, right. And then I still use Reason. I use Reason Rack, and I do my drums. I'm giving away some of the recipe, but yeah. So I still use Reason for drum programming. Right. As well as sometimes I do it in Ableton, but I prefer Reason because the layout is like a drum machine. Okay. And that's it. And then the rest is just, you know, feeling and funk.
Nice. Okay, cool, Jamie. So name me what are your top 3 Chicago house records?
Top 3 Chicago house. See, and I watch your show. So I know people be getting confused and all this. No, I'm gonna give it to you.
You're gonna give me the house.
Most definitely. Okay. And this is straight from Chicago. I would have to say number 1 would be Chippy's House. Okay. Number 2 would be the Night Riders. Let the music use you.
Jerry McAllister, right.
Exactly. Okay. I had to tell people that story. Right. Abroad, but most definitely. That, and then I would have to say, wow, and number 3, because he's so influential on me, would have to be, and it can't just be Larry Heard, it would have to be all of Fingersync, Another Side, that whole album. Okay. That's good news, man.
So, Jamie, where do you see the future of house music, man?
Whew. You know, the future of house music is in regards to where it is abroad. I'm also playing a part to help make sure it's in the right hands with certain people by mentoring and schooling people on the proper history and things like that. But in Chicago, we need to have some new younger DJs. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I've supported and had my boy play at a lot of stuff, J-Star. Yeah. And I love him. Good. He's a very talented young man and a very, very tight DJ. Okay. So I'm going to say this so y'all can hear this and listen and learn. Right. We don't need any more new 50-year-old DJs. Damn. We need to school some younger talent in this. Right. Because the other difference is we created this here in Chicago, but globally there's no black DJs under the age of 35 touring internationally. Preach. That is how you keep house music alive and keep house music going. Okay. Mentor. Yeah. Mentor some younger talents.
Preach, Jamie. Preach, man.
That's why. Okay. That's what needs to be done.
Let me ask you another question that is very controversial. Where do you think the term house music came from?
I watch the show. So, I put it like this. It's a little bit of everything that people have said. So, I got to give my boy, that's my uncle, and he was a influence on me, and I learned a lot from him. Okay. I give Leonard his props for being one of the pioneers in it. Most definitely.
That's Leonard Remix More.
Yeah, Leonard Remix More, for sure. As well as, there's the part with Frank or whatever. But, and that's not a diss to Frank. Right. But it's like, this culture and all this was a citywide movement. Right. It didn't just start, or the end all be all is Frankie the Hot Mix 5, that's it.
Right.
No, once again, it's just like hip hop.
Right.
Street DJ movement, all of this. So to me, I'm more about house culture than just trying to figure out where house music came from, because I'm from the culture of house. So to me, house is style, it's a dress, it's fashion.
Correct. Yeah. It is a culture.
All of that.
Yeah.
So I give Frank his part in it, but honestly, it's like, to me, what I consider house music is the electronic part as well.
Correct.
And that's what the world got.
Right.
So that's a whole nother, term that it can go into as well.
That's good that you
but
said
it's
it.
the truth.
Yeah, right. That's good that you said
because you have the house culture.
Right.
But to me, in regards to house music, is of course, all the disco, punk out, all that, you consider that house as well. But you got the electronic aspect of it. And that's the part that I'm like, that's house music.
Okay, so since you went there, we're going to go there too. So Beyonce said something on the Grammys saying that the queer community created this genre of ours, which is house/dance music. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll be right back. No, seriously, it's, in my opinion, once again, the culture.
We're not talking about the culture. We're talking about who created this genre of house music. Oh,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't just start or end with them. You can't say that. Like I said, most definitely they were very influential on the culture.
Correct.
I also cannot say that there weren't any kind of, gay artists or anything like that. But to my personal opinion is that it started with young straight kids. And it's like I said, I'm not trying to create, no extreme controversy, but a lot of these artists who were making this electronic music or whatever, first off, a lot of them were nerds and geeks, and
that's true.
They were making these joints and doing their thing. So it's like, I can't say that. That's a bad blanket statement that she came up with, because.
But we all know that it was created in Chicago. By kids from Chicago, from the west side of Chicago and south side of Chicago. We do know that's the truth.
Yeah, that you can't deny that.
Right.
You can't deny that, because as well, those kids that were doing that, they weren't going to the gay clubs. Right. So they didn't even know nothing about that. Yeah. They were just making tracks.
Okay. Well, listen, I'd like to thank everybody tuning in for Everything House Music and more. Remember, click the button, hit subscribe, and hit the notification button. Jamie, I love you, man. Thank you for doing this.
Wait a minute, man. You didn't ask me about the beefs. I watch your show, man.
So you want to go into that then, huh?
No, I ain't got no beefs with nobody, man.
So let's go ahead about that. Do you have any, are there any rumors or beefs in Chicago with Jamie 326?
Rumors? Man, I had so many. It's crazy, but.
Anything you want to clear up then to the audience right now?
Only thing I want to clear up is that I'm going to continue to remain a positive representative of my city and of my culture. And I never forget my roots and where I came from. Chicago is what made me. And now I give the world Chicago and a real taste of Chicago. That's that. I don't have no beef with nobody. There you go. I ain't got time for that. Beef don't pay my bills.
Hey, who you telling? On that note, brother, once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for doing this, Jamie. I really appreciate this, man.
Mo. I love what you're doing, man.
I appreciate that, man. I'm trying to do it for the culture, man.
That's what you're doing it. All right. That's why I'm here.
Once again, man, hit Jamie up on Facebook, Instagram, all your good things for him. You know where you at.
I'm Googleable.
There you go. Google. That's a good word right there. I like that. All right, y'all. Peace out.
All right. Peace.